Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Triad Expeditions, and in this episode we are going to continue with our Maverick X3 modification series. And in this episode we are going to be doing a not simple, though it looks simple, somewhat simple modification, but a very cool one. We are going to be installing the Flowmaster brand, B&M brand. I'm not sure how the hierarchy of ownership there, but BM Racing or B&M Racing and Flowmaster, I think they're like a joint company and probably owned by somebody else. But yeah, we're going to be installing the Magnum Grip Hill Killer gated shifter and passenger grab handle for the 2017 to 2018 Can-Am Maverick X3. So if you have a later model than that, definitely check in for compatibility. We are installing it on a 2021 X3 RS Turbo RR, so that is what we are going to be attempting to install it on. It does not look like it has that many parts, right? I mean, and I will tell you, this is not a cheap product by any means. It does have some machined aluminum that's pretty high-end stuff, but you know, it's got a bent sheet metal bracket here, a new gate shifter that's straight up and down. No more of this shifting, as most people know on a X3. If you're looking at this product, you probably own one. It's kind of like, you know, doing a puzzle every time that you are shifting it. This is going to create the situation where it shifts directly forward and backwards. And then we have a new pretty high quality, also all the parts are high quality, shifting gate here also, and some really pretty decent instructions. Looks like about 12 pages of instructions, and in the instructions you can see that it has some pretty good printing, good contrast photos, and it really goes step by step. I really appreciate, as you guys have heard in the past, the fact that, well, first off, they put a revision number on there, which is pretty awesome, and the fact that when they do a step description and then also a corresponding photo for each step. And I'm going to make some notes along the way. I suggest you do the same. They give you a sticker in there. That's pretty cool. And the other thing that I'm going to say is that in case you have not made this a practice, maybe you will, based on my suggestion, get you a cardboard box. The one they ship it in would work perfectly fine. And when you take a bolt out, mark down which step it was. So what I'm talking about here is, so you have a cardboard box, put it on its top, tape it all up, and then have like a screwdriver or something that you can punch a hole in it, and then set your screw in there, and then take a Sharpie or a pen and write next to that, hey, this is the step that I took it out, you know, because it's going to tell you to take certain, so that way when you are reassembling this machine to get back, and also I'm going to look into this Delta Boost thing in the future too, by the way, that they include. It's for Turbo Boost. This is a rebate for it, but it's not cheap either. But anyways, like say when they say here in step 48, they say take out this screw. Well, a lot of these screws are very similar lengths, and we know they all take pretty much a T30, so it's very easy for you to get them confused, or even possibly set one aside, maybe even in the machine, and then forget to put one in. So that's not good. And you know, when you have that box and you're marking your screws and what steps, you should be kind of progressing somewhat, probably in a reverse fashion, as you reassemble everything, and also all the screws are accounted for, and if you have screws left pushed into this box, you know that you did not use all your screws and put them back and you missed something. So and then some of the last steps here, as you kind of were looking kind of briefly as I was showing them to you, is that it'll have you adjust the shifting cable. So it shouldn't be very hard. Famous last words, as I always say. Hopefully I do have some feedback for them. Hopefully not too much, though. Hopefully it just goes pretty smoothly. And we've kind of started off the process because of all the modifications that we're doing. All of the seats are out now. So to get to this side of the machine, where the shifting handle is and where the shift linkage is and everything else, it made sense to take the driver's seat out also. And also we'll be running some wiring here very soon, and it's definitely going to make sense to have access to both sides of this tunnel. One thing when taking the driver's seat out that's a little different than the other seats is that you do have, I think, like a seat belt indicator, or maybe a driver sensor that's, you know, basically an interlock type sensor that you have to disconnect, and that's down here. So just be aware of that when you take it out. Also, if you have never taken out the seats before and this is kind of your first reason why you wanted to do it, because of the fact is, and you'll see in the instructions, I mean, it literally has you take off pretty much all the plastic for the tunnel. I mean, all the way back. So it's going to have us take the top of the tunnel off. So the tunnel is going to be completely exposed, and that the instructions have you do that. It has you taking off the side panels only on one side. Those things come off super easy. Just, you know, I guess I like it, you know what I mean, because you can easily get in there if you need to check wires or whatever. And we're going to be doing the drive shaft here in the future also. So we're going to be doing a complete Super ATV heavy duty Rhino drive shaft replacement, because these are pretty weak in the carrier bearing. For those of you that don't know what I'm speaking about, in the future also we will be doing the carrier bearing replacement there with the billet aluminum with the drive shaft, and we already have that here in the garage, so that will be another future video for you to see. So all right, well, I am going to get started, and I will bring you along if there's anything of interest that I run into that the instructions really don't point out. As you know, I do not do step-by-step install videos because I don't want the responsibility of you doing something wrong or right, and maybe messing up your machine in the process. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, so we are moving along here, and I'm just kind of pointing out what I was saying earlier about how to make steps and then put the bolts that you take out each step. One of the key things about this is that some of your bolts will have washers on them, some of them don't. This is another good way of just like keeping that straight. Even like step number 6, I put these are the 2 front ones and that's the middle one. So just something to keep in mind. Might help you out, keep everything straight, because the photos are not going to do a good enough job to keep you straight, in my opinion. So a lot of the instructions here has you kind of like prying back the side panels, and I'll say just take them all out. Absolutely, just take them all out when you're doing this. It's so much easier. And obviously, you know, I said that this is a good time to upgrade your drive shaft because you'll have everything exposed. So keep that in mind also. There is a key difference, and I don't know if it's like the previous years and they did change something, so this is something, you know, worth noting here. So it has you gaining access to these screws underneath to separate the middle part of the console, what they call the middle, this being the rear console cover, and this is the middle, and there's the front one. So I'll take you over here to basically show you what I'm referring to. So those are the 4 screws. I'll point it out here. There's one of these on each side, as you can see. So there's the grab bar for the rear seats, and there's a hole right here and a hole right here, and then as you can see the whole thing's going to come out. It's completely loose. So but I wanted to show it to you in position there. No need to separate those, just lift it all out as one unit. So that is a change, and I'm not sure if that's an instruction change or they just didn't realize it, or if that's something they did because of the panels, wanting you to pry the panels back. But basically you can skip a whole bunch of steps here. So it's going to be like skipping like 11, 12, 13, and just basically keeping your 4 screws separated. So obviously that you might get bored with this if you're not actually doing the install and you're just kind of shopping around for the product itself. So all right, just wanted to let you know about that. All right, so I thought this was kind of an interesting view for you as we're moving along. We're on step number 17, which is removing the shifter gate. And I wanted to compare the shifter gates and what I was talking about as far as how the shifter gates work. Both of them have park, reverse, neutral, high, and low. But as you can see, it's a bit of a puzzle, you know, in moving it through the different gears here. This one being straight up and down. And some of you might be asking yourself at this point in time, not having actually shopped for this product prior to watching this video and you know, getting interested in this product, what the purpose of this is and why they call it a hill climber or hill killer, that is product. So when you are going up hills on trails in the mountains, either East Coast or West Coast for that matter, if you're in Moab it's the same thing. You know, a lot of times you're in this lowest gear or high gear for that matter, and at some point in time you might find yourself going up a very steep upgrade and catching some traction, and maybe your front end getting light on you, and it is a very uneasy feeling because that is literally the next step in you basically rolling backwards and maybe trying to gun it to get over like a little step up or something like that, and the vehicle wanting to torque over the wheels basically because the front end is already, you know, pretty vertical as it is. So what this allows you to do is that grab handle there is going to be something that's necessary to shift it all the way up into park. It's kind of a way of making sure that you don't throw it all the way up into park as you're trying to slap that lever forward, because what you're going to do in that panic moment, in that extreme moment where you're trying to basically get the vehicle to reverse and go backwards and lower that front end down so that you do not somersault backwards the vehicle, you can literally take that shift lever and just throw it, since you don't have to move through the maze here, through the mouse maze. That's probably a good way to put it. You can just literally slap it forward, and where that shifter is going to land is going to be in that reverse position right here. It's going to land in that position and not go any further forward until you pull that handle, pull this grab handle and pull it up towards the grip there, but you can just slap that forward and get it to reverse. So I think a lot of you are probably tracking on what I'm saying there. So that's one use. The other use is that basically you can slap it forward if you need to do like a 3-point turn or multiple turns on switchbacks, especially for these longer cars, especially like the Max that we're using. If you need to go in reverse, literally all you do is you just slap it forward and reverse, and then you can pull. If you're in low already and you want to go back to low, you can just slap it right back down the low. So it's going to be a lot faster. You're not going to look like such a newbie, I guess, out there trying to maneuver this big car on these switchbacks on the trails, especially if people are behind you and waiting on you. You're not going to have to sit there and fish it through these slots to get it into that position. So that is the big use of this. It is a heavier duty unit. This is plastic, obviously. Nothing about this and this little shifter feel quality. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is just like, you know, it doesn't even feel the hand for one thing. So Yeah, just, you know, I know, yeah, we won't go there. Anyways, so, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I didn't have to buy it, right? You don't have to buy it. If you didn't like the way it was, then just change it, right? Or don't buy it. So, yeah, we're going back to that. So just don't buy it if you don't like it. But, yeah, so anyways, so this is like the toy version, basically, to some degree, and then this is kind of stepping up, you know, into more of an actual off-road vehicle setup. So, all right, moving on. All right, so we are on step 35 and just cruising along. Definitely from start to end, obviously you're going to have a lot more time invested. So we're on our second beer, and that is the time that is worth mentioning. We are drinking some Fathead breweries, and this is the Sunshine Daydream Session IPA, and this is located in Middle Heights, I think. Let's see here. Yeah, Middleburg Heights, Ohio. So another great Ohio brew. So definitely, if you get a chance to check out any of their stuff, highly recommend. I've not had a beer from them that has not been good yet. So yeah, so we're on our second beer. Things been going pretty smooth, but I did want to point out this intermission was actually for a reason. So they don't include very much hardware because you're going to reuse most of your hardware, but what they do include is a couple of lock nuts here, and this is going to be utilized in step 35. They say to hand start the pivot screw, nut and washers, and the front cable support screws that are located there labeled B in this photo. So I don't know if you can make that out, but you'll have your own set of instructions. You're going to need to use these nuts. They're taped to the outside shrink wrap package. They don't specifically say to use these nuts, but yeah, those are the ones that you need to use. But everything else has been going smooth. All right, I did want to point out another thing to you. This is kind of retroactive, so definitely watch the video and have your instructions out and take some notes as you go. So that way you'll have them handy. Sorry to jump around a little bit here. So what you're going to want to do is, so this is the bus terminal located in the middle of the car, and Ozzy, hush. And there's a single bolt, you know, because they definitely try to make everything as light as possible. There's some things about this car that when I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's pretty unique, or that was very thoughtful, or that's some pretty awesome engineering, and then other stuff not so much. But they do have like a little tab at the bottom and one bolt that holds 10 millimeter that holds this bus in place. You're going to want to take that out because the cables to remove these clips here on the right side of the cable assembly holder, that they have you remove the speed clips in the front here, but you leave the back one. To get this plate up and lift it out of there and get rid of these two right side screws, you're going to need to remove that. So that is something they should really include that in instructions, so you never know. I'll send this to them, maybe they will. All right, so we are at step 39, and previously that step 38, it has you remove the locking lever, is what they call it, and spring washer and the bolt. Make sure that when you go to put this back in, I mean, it's a chrome part going into aluminum. Make sure to use some Loctite for that. And then they have you take off the, well actually they don't. They say to mount the dust cover, which is basically your selector plate, with the bolts that you had taken off in step 18. It's actually step 17, so that's another discrepancy. But when you do install that, one thing they don't tell you to do, let me make sure I'm not, no, they do not tell you to take off the grip panels that are on the side of the selector lever. Use a 5/64 Allen head to do that. So write that in your instructions also, to use a 5/64 Allen head to take those off. And then you're going to want, when putting those grip panels back on there, you are definitely going to want to use some blue Loctite also. So yeah, maybe they will tell us to do that later. Hopefully not. Hopefully I'm not telling you this out of turn, but I wanted to make a note of it just in case. Alright, so wrapping up this project, let's show off our handiwork here. Looks pretty good. You know, and that's the thing, like, for me, I felt this was pretty much an upgrade that I wanted to do, because I knew I was going to have the seats out. I knew I was going to be replacing the drive shaft, and so I knew all this was going to be out of the car. And it's kind of crazy. It really don't take that long to get it out. So if you're doing any major work, don't, if I was you, that is, don't kind of mess around with just trying to, you know, work around things. I am, you know, not completely done. Obviously this kit has you reinstalling the center console and having your seats left in and all that and getting it back to drivability. I did adjust the shifting cable. Obviously I can't test that now. I had the battery unhooked and everything else. There's no use in doing that. I will be conscious of that when I end up getting everything back together. But just keep that in mind. You know, you do have to adjust the cable and you're going to want to test it. The grab handle over here, it's not fully installed because of the fact that it needs to come off for that center console panel to go back down in there. The reason why I didn't want to put it back together at all is because with these bolts down here, it makes a lot. I literally only had to take those 2 bolts loose, and I think, and maybe those right there, and I can lift up on that remaining skeleton or spine of the center console tunnel and manipulate that plastic enough to get that center drive shaft, the propeller shaft, out of there. So I definitely don't want to put anything in my way when I go to do that, and that will be the next video. I might end up having to get the bearing pressed on, because there is a step that you have to basically get the center bearing pressed onto the propeller shaft, so we'll see about that. But other than that, it shouldn't be bad. I'm going to rate this product based on installation and not functionality, because I have not tested it yet. If something changes, I definitely will change the video to reflect that, but I'm going to go ahead and give this product a 5-star rating. And also the fact that there wasn't really much frustration, and it only took 2 beers pretty much to install, so relatively fast installation. Definitely, you know, some of the things that I said will help you along the way. Here's the center console pieces taken out, just kind of laying there, and then so there's my remaining bolts that I have left. So about half of them are utilized and put back in there, so just keep that in mind. All right, well, thanks everybody for watching, and make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you would like to see more videos in the future and be notified when they come out. Thank you very much. Everyone be safe.